y'all, we want to welcome you back to the Backroom Gospel. This is our second episode, and about the 57th time trying to record. Because let me tell you something, the enemy is mad, y'all, that we're doing this. He has tried to stop it every which way, from the recordings from loading to stealing a pair of shorts. I mean, I want to welcome my next guest on the show. It's a friend of ours. Go ahead and say your name.
My name is Randall Patterson.
This is our buddy Randall. Randall's going to tell you a little bit about his story in a minute, and I'm going to open up with prayer, though, dude. And I didn't do that last time, and I feel like I'm supposed to do that this time. So, dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for your presence today, Lord, and we just thank you for all that you're doing, God, and we just thank you for your guidance. And we ask your Holy Spirit to come in here today, God, and just lead this so that whoever is supposed to be reached by this video, you reach them and radically change their lives, God. And as we hear these stories, just let us open up to share and tell everything you've done, all the mighty things and miracles you've done in our lives, God. And we just thank you for these things in Jesus' name, amen. All right, dude. I'm gonna ask you a couple questions, but feel free to chit chat. First of all, kind of tell me like about your life as far as, I mean, you ain't gotta, go digging all that. I mean, whatever you want to share, but like childhood stuff or whatever. Like, how was you raised? Was you raised in church? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, actually, I was raised in church. My granddaddy, he was a preacher. So I back and forth between the church I grew up in, that's by the house, to his church, watching him preach. Even being 6, 7 years old, I felt like I was supposed to be a preacher. But and he's put me in front of his church up there with a little kid's Bible at 6 years old, preaching to his congregation. But I run from it. It's one of those, I don't think I'm called to be a conventional preacher.
Yeah.
In four walls. I like being out here in the open, doing stuff about how you have it set up with the back room.
Absolutely, so. Yeah. So what, you went in the military, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
17 years
old. That. 17.
At 17.
Thank you. Yeah.
My daddy told me I was getting close to graduating. He told me once I graduated, I either had to keep going to school, which was college, or get a job. Well, I didn't want to do either one, so I joined the Army. Signed up between my 11th and 12th grade year. Left after I graduated, about 4 days after I graduated. So while all my friends were out partying and stuff, I was being taught how to defend our country.
Wow.
Served for almost 10 years. Ended up getting out because of knee injuries and stuff like that. But yeah.
Now, what did you do in the military?
I started out as a 25 Bravo, which is some kind of computer technician stuff. We could go into an area, and before most people had their tent set up, I could have computer network set up.
Oh, right on.
To where the officers could communicate back home or wherever they had to.
Yeah.
And then done that for a little bit because they told me that was my only option when I signed up. When I went to MEPS, didn't give me an option to sign up for anything else. And then I went and swapped to a 91 Bravo, which was an all-wheel mechanic, which is something I've done my whole life. I grew up on a farm, so
yeah,
I knew how to turn wrenches, and it wasn't hard.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, that's cool, though. Now, is that, like, because, I mean, obviously I know, some of your background. Is that where you started questioning your, like, walk with God or your Christianity? Like, how,
Yeah, I will say, I won't say I was sheltered as a child, but growing up here in Florida, in the Bible Belt,
yeah,
you don't run into many other religions, especially here in these small towns.
Yeah.
But once I got up there to some of my first duty stations and stuff like that, and meeting other people from different walks of life, I really started delving into the different religions. And it started out as, just trying to learn about them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just started falling into some of the stuff because and picking and choosing what I wanted to do. I figured I could do that. Nobody would know, you know. But,
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of wild, ain't it, friend?
oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, and because I want, what religion did you delve into that you ended up kind of taking on?
I started the Norse pagan is what really got me going. Just the way, you know, I hate to say it, but the military structure
Mm-hmm.
is kind of based off the way the Norse were, the Norse
Yeah.
Vikings were.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it wasn't hard to get into, and because they offered it,
Yeah.
you know, it was something I could learn into, and
Absolutely.
yeah.
I got you. And like, so is that something that you practiced even after coming out?
I did up until a little over a year ago.
I got you. And kind of walk us through, like, and I mean, I know at one point, like, you know, y'all, there was some things in your home you got rid of and everything else, and so you was pretty hardcore into it.
Yeah, I actually started. I've met some guys that here are local that were of the same religion, and really got to know some of those guys and started delving into it. Started getting books on how to practice better and
Mm-hmm.
talking to people on Reddit and stuff like that. Uh, Started wearing the jewelry. Started growing my hair out to braid it with the Viking beads and stuff like that. I was burning incense. I had idols. I had Thor. I had a couple others that were up on the mantle that I would burn incense to, and you know, I would pray to them, and you know, way they believe any accomplishment is mine and mine alone,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I wanted. Couldn't nobody hold me back. Couldn't nobody touch me. You know.
Yeah.
Well.
And I mean, like, as far as like in your personal life, like marriage, kids, etc., was all that coming together, or was all that kind of
No,
falling apart?
it was falling apart. I started pushing my wife and kids away. It was hard. I know it was on them and my wife.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get it, dude. I do. I mean, I think it's when we start running, no matter what we're running, like no matter what whether it be another religion we're wrapped up in, or we're just running from in general, you know, I think that we end up knee deep in it thinking it's going to save us from it, not realizing all the collateral damage it's leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and you look and it's like, man, and so at some point in time, and I mean, we ain't got to go into who, what, when, where, but at some point in time, you got wrapped up riding in some motorcycle stuff.
I did.
Yeah.
I actually still do. But because of God, I'm in a better headspace now. Can do it.
Absolutely. In a different.
Do it the right way.
Yeah. So tell it. Okay. So first of all, what I've asked him to go ahead and share. What brought you to God, dude?
Actually, January of 25, I got off work, went and picked up a plaque for a riding brother that had passed away. Was going to a bike event, was just cruising along, you know, right there on Front Beach Road, and a car tried to hit me. And because I tried to avoid it the first time, they got mad and ended up getting in front of me, slamming on brakes. And when I had to snatch it over, I ended up hitting the van. I lost my leg that day. I woke up in the hospital missing my first one was just missing my foot. Had the option to go back for another surgery to get it below the knee for a better option as far as prosthetics. But I remember laying on that sidewalk and calling my wife, and I figured that was the last phone call I was ever going to make. Got to the hospital, and of course, you know, even to the hospital, I was still a Norse pagan.
Yeah.
I remember laying there in that hospital bed, feeling sorry for myself, wanting to eat a bullet. And I heard a little, it was a whisper. It wasn't loud, it was just a whisper. And it said, "You will walk with me again." And at that point,
Yeah, I feel it, brother. Yeah.
At that point, I sat there and I prayed to God. And just like me and you talking, that's how I was. I apologized for everything I ever done for running from it.
Yeah.
And I can say the doctors told me it'd be a year before I'd ever even think about walking. 9 months later, I was walking unassisted.
That guy, dude.
Oh,
that
yeah.
guy. Yeah.
Every time the doctors told me no, I said, my God said I could.
Yeah.
And I did.
Yeah.
And it's not me. I know it's not. Because I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for him. I should have died. Even the paramedics said there's no way, with as much blood as I was losing, and they couldn't get it to stop, that I should still be here. So I know there's a purpose.
Walk and talk and miracle, bro. I mean, it just is. And what, a month ago, you come in the water, dude, and we baptized you. That was like, we baptized, I think, 14 that day, and I was like, I don't think I've ever been as excited to do a baptism as that one right there. I was like, man, I was so, I mean, because for me, because I know, like you said, it's a group of our friends. They're still our friends, phenomenal people that we love, but are in this religion. And so for me, as a Christ follower, to watch somebody walk it out, and to come to Christ, come back to Christ, dude, there's no greater high on the planet. Like, there really is not. It's just to, like, watch that like, that's the whole purpose of this podcast, is to show that, like, nobody's too far gone. Nobody's too far out there. Like, no matter, you know what I mean? And like, I had a friend of mine, she's a really good friend. And you know if I said her name, but I won't. But she's in the religion. And recently she told me, she said, I've been feeling pulled to come to that Bible study. She's like, but I don't believe like y'all. And she's like, but I've been feeling pulled. And I'm like, dude, come on. Like, it doesn't matter if you believe. You don't have to believe like us. Like, you just come and hang out. And, like, we're going to love on you. Nobody's going to shove it down your throat, And she let me know. She said she had heard me reading the Bible at a wedding. She said, that Bible thing that you read, she said, something in me didn't want me listening to it.
Oh, yeah.
And it got her to thinking, though, why don't it want me listening to it? Why am I so triggered by you reading that? You know what I mean? Because, like, today, if somebody read something to us about another religion, it's not triggering me.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because I got the Holy Spirit in me, dude. And anything else out there is a counterfeit.
Yep.
Now, don't get me wrong. All those other things are very real. That, and that's something we're going to teach on in a future podcast about that. It's very real. I shared with you already earlier when we were in the barbershop. Within 24 hours of us starting the page, that we had 4 witches following this page. Why? I pray it's so that I can show them the love of Christ. If it's because something ulterior, so be it. Like, the Lord will take care of that. I don't have to.
Oh, yeah. He'll fight all the battles.
He will. And that's really, like, I mean, and I don't know how else but, like, to explain that. And when I tell people, like, real life don't stop happening. You and I both know your car might break down tomorrow. Your kid might get sick next week. Like, life doesn't stop happening.
Nope.
But what do you have in the midst of it now?
I got my God.
Exactly. And you got peace, dude. And it's like, at the end of the day, it's going to work out.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, that's the part that I can't offer people many things in this world, but I can offer you peace. Because, like, I can show you, right? Yep. I mean, and that's one of the things that's why. And there's another gentleman in a different motorcycle club. You know who I'm talking about. He come out of the faith as well. And he's been in here in Bible study, and, like, watching his walk, and it's a process, man. Sanctification is a walk. Sanctification is a process, and we have to give people grace, because a lot of times we look at it and we're like, well, you should have been doing X, Y, Z. Says who?
Yeah, I mean, my walk's not going to be the same as yours.
Yeah. And mine's not the same.
But God knows what each one of us need to get to where we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And it's just like I said, I was laying in the hospital bed praying to God. I was Norse pagan still. Mm-hmm. my wife had been trying to get me to come to Bible study even before, and I just knew I needed to stay away. The same thing. It was something telling me, no, you do not need to go in there.
And what's funny is in our Bible study in here, I let everybody like graffiti the walls and stuff, and then one of the walls we had wrote prayer requests. You know, lost loved ones, whatever. Everybody that comes in here writes on that wall pretty much. Randall's name was on that wall from day one, and you know, it ain't a few weeks into it that Randall wrecks. You know, his wife had been coming, and then it's a few weeks into it, and you wreck. And I'm like, there's no coincidence. I mean, you know what I mean? That we put your name on that wall, dude, and begin praying, because it's like, if the enemy went that hard to take you out, why? What you got inside of you that he's scared of?
Oh yeah.
Who are you supposed to impact? That's the same thing I tell my husband all the time. I'm like, dude, why you think that you run as hard as you did? You know, and the Lord knew exactly, like, exactly how many souls was on the line on the other side of that.
Oh yeah.
And you know, and you and I both know, like, the people that you come in contact with, and even I get to come in contact with through the motorcycle community, they're not stepping in churches for the most part.
No.
They really don't want to hear somebody that smells like church, you know.
No.
And I don't know how else to word that, but they don't. You know, it's all like, oh God, here they go. And I almost sometimes they'll laugh and joke. And Debbie, they call me, you know, the preacher lady, and I'm like, do not call me the preacher lady, you know, because I'm like, I'm not, you know. But I mean, I get, you know, I am flattered that they connect me with Jesus, but at the same time, it's like that community, especially, like, nah, bro, like, if you smell like that, I don't want to do with it.
Yeah, and the bad thing is, a lot of churches nowadays have forgotten what the focus should be,
mm-hmm.
and they're focusing on how to look.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what drove me away. I mean, I remember growing up in church and some of the older people, you know, because I was a teenager.
Yeah.
You know, I messed up. I done stuff, but
absolutely,
they would judge you quick,
yeah.
And nobody wants to deal with being judged.
Yeah.
But I can say, you know, Jesus, he did hang out with tax collectors that were shunned, and you know, he hung out not on the main spots, but on the sideways and byways.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's where he taught.
Yeah.
Why can't I do the same thing?
Absolutely. And that was one of the things when I had always been in traditional church my whole life, and about, I don't know, maybe 3-4 years ago, it's probably about 4 years ago now, I had been feeling called out of it, and I was like, that just don't make sense to me, because it ain't lining up with what, you know. And finally a lady, she called me, and she was like, I've got a word for you. I'm like, all right, cool. She said, God's calling you out of the four walls into the, you know, bars, clubhouses, you know, legions, whatever. And I was like, dude, that's like, I've already been, you know. And I'll never forget, it was a Wednesday night she called me. I was standing at a place up in Dothan. Like, that's how vivid, you know, I remember where I was standing. And as she's saying it, and it's like, I'm trying to hold that together, I seen as clear as day. It's in a field, and I was holding a basket, and I was pulling wheat as fast as I could put in that basket. And I was like, "Ooh, all right, Lord, I got you. I see you." You know, the very next night, I sat on a bar stool next to my husband, because in that community, you know, like, and anybody knows anything about motorcycle communities, like, when they hang out at bars. You know, bar to bar. That's just what they do. And so I knew that, like, you know, that lifestyle, or the drinking lifestyle, all the stuff, that wasn't ever my thing. So it wasn't a pull for me. It wasn't a temptation for me. I was like, cool, I can go, you know, hang out and just be a light. And I didn't know what that was going to look like. But I sat on that stool the very next night, and there was a club member's old lady sitting next to me. And she sat down, and we just were chit-chatting, and she looked at me and she said, I don't think you've ever heard my story. And she was a wild child at heart, and I love her. And she started sharing her story about how she was in a very abusive relationship, and like, when he would go on his binge and go to beating on him, she would hide in the woods with her Bible and read the word in the, you know, I mean. And I was like, whoa, dude, like, we don't know people's stories.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, as I started listening, I'm like, this, okay, God, I got you. I'm not here to wave around my little sheet checklist that says, look here, I came to show Jesus. I'm sitting here to show them Jesus by being like his hands and feet. You know what I mean? And like listening to their story and then like starting to show them love in the midst. And I watched and got to baptize her and her kids. And the very first like meeting we had down in Panama City one night, I looked up and there walks in her and her husband, a club member. And I just lost it because I was like, this is what it's supposed to look like. Because, in the middle of all of it, I've seen people, and you know better than anybody. Like you've been right there front row seat to a lot of it. Seeing people start to give their lives to Christ, seeing people walk out of that lifestyle, and I'm like, dude, this is what we're supposed to be doing, and that's literally what this podcast is about. Is about outreach, because like I said, nobody's too far gone, and if I don't take it to somebody and show them the love of Christ, what am I doing? What am I doing with my life if I don't do that?
Yeah. Well, you've said it before in Bible study. Now I've actually been seeing it a lot here lately on TikTok and Facebook Reels, stuff like that, and it's the same message. So I know, but I had to walk through hell, and then He showed me the way out of it.
Mm-hmm.
That way, I can go back in and pull others out.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So
Because then that's what you're in. Like the Lord will put somebody in your path, and He probably already has and will continue. That's going to need your story. It's going to need whatever you got to say. Hey, man, like you said, if it's somebody that's been in an accident, if it's somebody that's had some military stuff, if it's somebody from the religion, whatever that looks like, you're now able to share exactly what you walk through in your life. And that's like when I share, I mean, I'm like you, I probably got 50,000 testimonies, of how the Lord helped. But one of the main ones that I always go back to was I had dealt with like the spirit of suicide from probably age 15 on, all the way up until December the 24th, 6 o'clock at night, 2016. So a very long time. You're talking 30 years. I dealt with that almost, or 20 something years, whatever I can add. But so extreme that I had, two different episodes that put me in like loony bin, ICU for 7 days. Like I actually, tried it. It wasn't just a thing of, but it was constant. It was constant. Like every time I would hear it, the world's better off without you. Your kids are better off without you. Like, just go ahead. If you take the burden off of them. I would hear this on the regular, and I fought it, and I went through the meds. I went through several different times. I went through the therapist, Christian and otherwise, several different times. And I had I had childhood trauma crap, but I had I had done forgave for that. I had done gotten healed of that. Like, why am I still fighting this? And December 24th, 2016, I sat in my closet, and I'll never forget it. I had the Jesse Coulter shooter have a song called "Please Carry Me Home," and it literally was talking about when everything gets done, just carry me home. And I, for probably a solid hour, sat with that song on repeat, rocking myself with a loaded gun. It was time to go home, and in that moment I was like, Lord, like my heart's that broken at this point. Just let me go home. You know my heart. Like I've made things right with you. And I just sat there and I sat there and I'll never forget Josh. We were actually split. He come in the closet and he took the gun from me or whatever. And I said, and he was just disgusted. And I get it, And I laid there and I just started screaming out to God. And I was like, you have to save me from this. Like this can't like. And it was literally like I felt like my dad sitting there and took me in his lap and was like, "You don't have to fight this. You don't have to deal with this. You chose
and
this."
that's the biggest. I will say that's the biggest and the best feeling, knowing that before I thought my battles were mine. Not no more.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't got to fight them.
Mm-hmm.
If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. But I know who's got me.
Absolutely. And that was mine left that day, and I got set free of that. And later on, I would get radically set free of other things that I had always battled. But and it changed the course of my life. That was it. Literally, like my entire world shifted at that point. But that left, and so I'm like, I am proof positive. Like I'm standing here, I'm living proof that you don't have to fight those things. So for me, it's like I joked on here the other week talking about it's like some Jim Jones shared a Kool-Aid, because you're like, dude, you don't have to live with depression. You don't have to live with anxiety. You don't have to live, and part of my testimony was like, I'll say this nicely, like my father's family, and even down into they were all very, um, I don't know how else to say it. They ran around. You know what I mean? Like that was like they were kind of known. The men in that family was known for that. They ran around, and the apple didn't fall far from the tree, bro. Like that was just, and I just thought that because like my daddy's that way, I'm that way,
Yeah.
and I battled it, like the whole time, and it was like it wasn't who I was inside, but it was I believed the lie of the enemy that said because my daddy was that way, I was gonna be that way. It's why I usually wouldn't like touch a drink. Not that I've never had one; it was just very rare for me because why? Alcoholism. Like all his brothers, were alcoholics. Daddy was at one point in time, and I was like, I knew I was like, I ain't touching it because like it's in my blood. I believe the lie of the enemy that you know what? When I'm born again, and the Bible speaks of that. Nah, bro. Now I got Jesus DNA in me.
Yep.
I don't have to fight all that crap. I broke all that, and and my father's not that person anymore by no means. So don't let me, at all. Like that's, but he definitely, because of what was in his bloodline, could have ended up a whole lot different life. And, and I, like I said, I'm proof positive you can break that, that you don't have to be, that generational curse. And like, so once you become free, you're like, dude, you want to tell the next dude sitting next to you, you're like, man, you ain't got to deal with that.
No, not at all.
And I mean, and you come in contact like I do with a lot of people that are, man, they're broken, and it's like I'm sitting here with a life raft, or you ain't got to drown, just get on the raft. And like I said, it is a process, and it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, a lot,
All the time.
It took me a very long time to finally get it together. And then even then, every day, Lord, search me. If it don't look like you, get it gone. And there's times that it takes a minute for it to get gone, and then it'll hurt my feelings because I'm like, man, like me and Jordan were talking recently about it, about the fact of like my sense of humor as it started, because it was kind of foul, and it started kind of like the Lord was like, would I have said that? Would I have laughed at that? And I was like, ugh, that's what makes me funny. Jesus, please don't take that, but he did, and not my sense of humor, but that part of it, and I was like, dude, that kind of sucks. Like, I like being funny, but I was funny in a foul way. And he started shifting that, even down to something silly. We sang karaoke a few weeks or a month or so ago at 2 o'clock in the morning. I waked straight up. Lord convicted my heart because why? 2 of the songs I sang wasn't very becoming of a Christian. Wasn't foul, but it wasn't him. And I was like, but then now I'm at a point where it shifted. Like, I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful that because why? Because he loves me that much that like he's getting those things out of me that don't look like him.
Oh, yeah.
It's been one at a time, The first thing I ever worked on was my mouth, and good Lord, I mean that was I told a friend of mine recently that was trying to quit with the foul talk and stuff. I was like, dude, it took me 18 months to quit, and at a certain point I started spelling cuss words because I was like, I can kind of quit if I just spell them. And then a friend of ours in Georgia, he one day he said, hey, I hate to tell you, but Jesus can spell. And I was like, bro, come on, man. I'm gonna have to quit. Like, but it was my own, you know what I mean? Like it was a process. It wasn't overnight. And I think, don't get me wrong, if it happens overnight for somebody in an altar, beautiful. Like that is phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't happen that way for me.
Nope.
I had to walk it out. And it didn't, I rode that fence, and ain't no such thing as a fence, bro. Satan owns fence, ain't no such thing. But I rode the fence because I was like trying to get it together. But I'm like, I look back and I'm like, he had grace on me. He had mercy on me in the middle of that because I didn't quit talking to him. And I think a lot of times, especially as church kids, because I was one too, I think that we run when we're doing stuff wrong because we're like, man, no, he's disappointed in me. He don't want to do with me. The more I've learned, it's just like your kids, tomorrow if they jacked up and did something wrong, do you want them to run off
No.
and like exclude you, or do you want them to be honest and just say, "Daddy, I screwed up, man," and
That's
like,
what I
yeah,
tell them all the time.
yeah,
Just it goes a lot easier, and took a long time for me to figure that out.
yeah,
But it goes a lot easier if you're just honest.
yeah, and you just pour your heart out, and you're like, and that's the biggest thing I tell. And I was talking to my son the other day, started talking about it, and I'm like, dude, you don't have to give nothing up. Just start talking to him. Just get in
Oh
a
yeah.
relationship. He will clean up what don't look like him. So that, and it ain't about us, because I was talking to our associate pastor at church the other day. I was cutting his hair, and we're talking about that. As a culture, we think it's I, me, man. And when you realize none of it has anything to do with you, it literally is about furthering the kingdom. So it's like everything that you've gone through, as horrific it is to lose a freaking limb, it wasn't about you.
Nope.
It's literally about furthering the kingdom.
Oh yeah.
About the next one that you can share what Jesus done in your life. I always joke and tell people when I tell your story, I'm like, I said, he likes to say, the Lord took my leg, saved my soul. It's I don't think the Lord took your leg, you know what I'm
No.
saying? But he allowed something to happen in that situation that shifted the trajectory of the rest of your life.
Oh yeah.
Because once you have that radical encounter, you may run again. I ran several times, but you will never doubt. And I told the kids that. I said, when you have a radical encounter with Jesus Christ, you may run from it, but you will not ever question the existence again. You will not ever say, because it came alive, because it walked you through this situation, literally walked you through this situation, no pun intended, friend.
Yeah.
You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? He walked you through this. And I know it wasn't easy, dude. I know it wasn't an easy walk,
Oh yeah.
and it's still not,
Yeah. There's days where I don't even want to walk.
Yeah.
Whether the pain or whatever, but I just, all right, God, I can't do it today. You got to.
Yeah.
And it happens.
Yeah. Every time. Well, it's been cool sitting here talking to you, man. I love it. Like, even if I did, it made me cry a little bit. That's a good thing, though.
Oh yeah.
But I want to encourage you, no matter what you got going on, no matter how bleak it's, no matter what you know what I mean? Like, I know you still figuring stuff out, and that's the beauty of it. But no matter where you go, don't ever think that your story isn't touching somebody, and share with them what Jesus Christ did for you, how he saved your soul, how he saved your life, because you don't know who's listening, you know what I mean, and whose life that it's impacting. And I shared on here the other day somebody else's story talking about how they had a vision of when they were finally got their crap together. The Lord showed them like thousands of people, and there was blood on their hands. And the Lord, told them that's all the people that you were supposed to impact while you were getting it together. It broke me, because I was like, I don't ever want blood on my hands, dude. And there's been a few situations that I cried my eyes out with. A friend of ours passed last year, and I was at the hospital, and they were in a different religion, and I cried my eyes out in the car, and I told my husband, I said, is that man's blood on my hands? And he was like, no, you shared Christ with him. I was like, yeah, but did I try hard enough? Like, it really, like, dude, and that part, it bothers me,
Oh yeah.
and that, like, because of the lifestyle, and because the ones we come in contact, we're not promised tomorrow. And I think I'm pretty positive this is the funeral they have to go to, that the gentleman, they just didn't wake up, and he wasn't that old, you know what I mean, and stuff. And it's like, and that's, I guess, challenge, anybody that you come in contact with, and challenge anybody that's listening, if you didn't wake up, man, where are you going?
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be this big. You ain't got to get into a four-wall church. Don't get me wrong. You need to get there eventually, or whatever that looks like. And it could be a home church, a Bible study, whatever. I'm not saying that, but gather together. But until then, man, get somewhere. I don't care if it's your bathroom floor, your closet, in your car, and just start talking to Jesus. And it's as simple as saying, I don't know what I'm doing, Lord.
That's it. That's what I've done.
Yeah. That's it.
And I was just laying in a hospital bed. I mean, so.
It was wild too because like when I came there that day to cut your hair at the hospital, and not even thinking, you know what I mean, that day that like you were fixing to walk this out with the Lord, and you were already in the middle of it, and that just.
And that's the thing. My wife didn't know until afterwards. Nobody knew. That was just a heart to heart with me and God.
It was you and God. It wasn't.
And that's what I needed.
It wasn't. Yeah, and that's, you can make an altar anywhere you're at. And I'll never forget the night that she come wheeling you in here, and you were in the wheelchair still, and like, it took my breath away because I was like, dude, and I got cold chills now.
Yeah.
I'm like, because this is what it's supposed to be. The night that our other friend that's down the hill come walking in, and I was like, all right, Lord, all right, you know. And for that friend, he eventually told me a few weeks into it, he said, thank you for never giving up. And he was like, because he had gone through something, and he prayed like something, pretty rough, and he's prayed for the first time in 10 years. And I'm like, dude, so you don't never know. Don't stop praying for people, man.
No.
Don't stop. And, even in the middle of your funk and your mess and your screw ups, don't stop, because somebody else is like waiting on that. Like, whose salvation's waiting on you to get it together? Or you to be obedient. And I'm like, that is the challenge that I tell everybody, because that scares me. Like, I don't ever want to be the reason that somebody else did not. So it's like, and now I've turned into the crazy lady telling everybody about Jesus, man. Like, and I always used to make fun of my mama for that. I was like, God, don't make me turn into my mama, I turned into my mama, bro. Because like, everywhere I go, I'm like, I look like Jesus, but it's real,
It is.
But anyways, I'll go ahead and wrap it up and everything, And I want to remind y'all though, if you're listening today and you feel like you're too broken, too far gone, or whatever, too messed up, man, come on in. There is room in here for y'all in the back room, And we want to tell y'all that, like, if this feels like home, come join us and check us out. We'll be back every Friday. If you got any kind of prayer requests, feel free to reach out on any of the platforms that we're on, and we will be happy to pray with you and connect you with somebody locally to get you connected to that. But thanks, dude, for coming in. I appreciate you.
Always.
All right. Thank you all.